All right, welcome again. I just want to welcome everyone watching now and watching in the future of our YouTube channel, our virtual industry panel for business finance professionals. My name is Shelby. I'm a career education counselor. This event was coordinated by our career education counselor team. We've got Gabby and Brianna joining us as well. If you have any questions at all, you can always reach out to us in the chat. And if you have any concerns, let us know, but we are so happy to bring you this panel. We are going to start. I'm going to read the bios of our panelists that we have today, and then we'll jump to the facilitated Q&A, and then we'll do our individual Q&A where you can ask your own questions. So with that being started, I would like to introduce our panelists. So I'll start with Catherine Pierce. Catherine has enjoyed a 35-year career in finance and accounting in the following industries: entertainment, biotech manufacturing, nonprofit. She has a degree in business administration with a minor in accounting from Arizona State University. Her career has provided opportunities to financially manage the success of 2 small businesses, work for Capital Records as accounts payable manager, and manage the financial operations of 3 nonprofits. And then we have Jonathan Bengal as well, who is a business profit tax coach and teacher extraordinaire, IRS enrolled agent, certified tax coach, certified tax planner, author, speaker, and serial entrepreneur. So for the last 19 years, he has guided heart-centered women and a few good men entrepreneurs through the darkness of making a profit and paying high taxes, and transformed their lives by shining light into business financial freedom. He is a proud founder of JB Financial, Tax Tiger Consulting Inc., and Naked Tax Talk LLC. He is a national and international author, writing in 2020 his first book for entrepreneurs, which made him a #1 best Amazon seller for his book, The ABCs of Deductions, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Tax Write-Offs. And he is teacher for his online program, Rapid Tax Savings Formula, empowering students to step into the light of who they were born to be. And he's the host of his own YouTube channel, Naked Tax Talk, where he and his guests bear down the naked truth about personal, business, and monetary lives. Don't worry, it is PG-13. So this is giving you an idea, students, about who is here with us today. So what I'm going to do now is put them on Spotlight so we can all see, for us to see them right in the middle of our screen. Sorry for the delay there. Okay. And then we are ready to jump ahead and get started. So don't worry, I'll tell y'all panelists who to go first. And I will start right away with our first question, which is, please share your education and career journey. What made you decide to pursue the career you currently have? And what road bumps have you overcome along the way? And we can start this one with Jonathan.
First of all, how much time do I have? I have the power of gab, so I need to know if I have a time constraint.
Yes, so our facilitated Q&A is going to be for the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
So each question, I know some are bigger questions than others, so we can feel the flow of it. It's okay if we don't get to all the questions, but mostly we have 30 minutes before we do our breakout rooms.
Okay, great. So I'll make sure that Catherine and we split this time up wisely. So I'll make sure. So yes, exactly. Thank you for the introduction, Shelby. I'm Jonathan Bengal, and I am a business intuitive. This is a new title that I have actually stepped into, which is really the discovery of the realization that what I do as a badass CEO that I was born to be is to really help to shine the light to financial happiness. So my background as a public speaker, by the way, is that I always talk about, ironically enough, the things that I had to go through. So what I like to let people know is that you're looking at what we call a byproduct of extreme poverty. So I was actually born to a single mother who raised myself and my younger brother on just $500 a month. As a result of growing up in poverty, it meant that I did not have the right education. I had subpar education, and yet I still managed to graduate #4 out of 398 students at high school level. I was the vice president, the president of the first Gay Straight Alliance in Arizona back in the 1990s. And I also, of course, was an honor student, and the list just goes on. I was a full recipient for the Alliance Française de Tucson as an ambassador to France, so je parle français aussi. And as a result of this, my young education was really about me having to really shine bright as I could be. I would ultimately land a full paid scholarship to the University of Arizona, both presidential and regent scholarship. And I will admit that I also failed my first year in college. And of course, I took a break and then I came back and really applied myself one more time. And originally, I was born to be a teacher since I was this tall. And as a matter of fact, one of my mentors said to me, "But Jonathan, do you want to be poor your whole life?" And because I came from such poverty, it scared me to death. So I said, "Well, hell no." I said, "What am I supposed to do?" And he says, "Well, go and pursue something with money." And I said, "Okay, great. Well, what should I take?" And he says, "Well, all great business owners, successful owners, take an accounting class." And so next thing you know it, I went and I took an accounting course and I fell in love with debits and credits and all of that jazz. And next thing you know it, I got my bachelor's in business accounting with an emphasis in tax. And the reason why it's tax is because as a gay male and working with lots of women who've always come to save me, I realized that law in general, what it does is it actually discriminates against women and it makes women a second class citizens. This is what men do to women, by the way. And so I thought, well, how do I help women to empower them like my badass mother that she is and all the rest of the women's in my life? How do I help them and empower them and make them great like me? Well, there's one area of law that equalizes it, and that's in tax. And so that's really where I started to focus on, was in tax law. I would later ultimately earn my master's in secondary education. I actually taught for 4 years. I was an English teacher of all things, but that's probably lays into my secondary passion, which is to write. I've been a writer since I was 14. In fact, I was just reading my journal the other day when I was 14 years old. I started it on September the 13th, 1995. I was just 14 years old. And every single day of my life was chronicalized up until I was about 26. So the point about this is that when you ask about what our journey takes us on, is that all the ups and downs, the highs and the lows that gets us to where we're at today. And quite honestly, when I started my company, JB Financial, back in '04, that's my 19-year-old child. That's how I think about my businesses. And this is how I teach my entrepreneurs to think about their companies. I have a 19-year-old and his name is JB Financial, which you just said beautifully, Shelby. I also had an unplanned pregnancy 2 years ago and gave birth to my Naked Tax Talk program at a tax conference, and ultimately just gave birth to my other company, which is Jonathan Bengal, which is AKA Tax Tiger Consulting Incorporated, which is essentially the tax advisory side of my business. I know there's a question in there about how we evolve in our industry and where we think it's going. So needless to say, I, of course, was discriminated against more than one time. I was fired 3 times for being openly gay. For 3.5 years, I was discriminated against for being a gay teacher in the classroom. And so really, I just faced a lot of discrimination. And if there's one thing that I know to be true, is that when we accept ourselves in all of our glory and not so glorious moments, there's no words and there's no actions that can stop us from fulfilling our life's purpose. And I discovered that if I take my own life, my own destiny into my own hands, there would be a government that would actually encourage us and has our backs to make sure that we're successful. And so this is really where I really studied and put a lot of my energy and effort into, was to being an entrepreneur, but more about understanding entrepreneurship and all of the legalese and the accounting and all the other stuff that goes behind being an entrepreneur, while at the same time remembering why we became a business owner, why you become one. And the first reason is because, baby, let's be real. It's to make mucho, 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 mucho dinero. That's the first one, right? And it turns out that Uncle Sam believes the same thing. He believes that your purpose as an entrepreneur is to make a whole lot of money and to keep a whole lot of your money. But here's the other thing, though, right? Money is one issue. The secondary issue we have to talk about is this thing called happiness and suffering. You see, when you're an entrepreneur, you're born with this special gift to bring forth to the world your products or your services that relieves the suffering of others. So when a client comes into me and they go, "I'm tired of paying taxes. I don't know how much I'm going to pay in taxes. I don't know what I should do in my business." Da, 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 da. They're suffering. They're suffering of the fear of the unknown, right? And so my job is to bring forth the light of happiness and to say, well, you could be like one of my clients. Like last week, we saved them $72,000 and got it back in their pocket. Or maybe like one of my other clients that we got them back $301,205 in taxes. So the idea here is that we're creating happiness. They feel happy, they feel relieved, and they finally believe in who they are. And so this is the purpose of entrepreneurship, whether you're providing tax services or tax consulting or bookkeeping, or you're selling a widget or you're doing something else. The idea here is we're we're relieving the suffering of others so that we can be happy, but more importantly, so that our clients can be happy as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And with that, I will pass the same question over to Catherine.
Hi, everybody. I am not as articulate as Jonathan. I'm a 35-year accountant, but I will try my best. So please bear with me as I'm looking at notes above me. As a high school newspaper editor, I wanted to be a journalist. But my mom passed away when I was a sophomore in college. And that year, because we were poor and didn't have a lot of resources, I had to figure out how to do her income tax return. This was a long time ago, about 30 some years ago. And I struggled through it, but I did it. And I found my calling, and I switched my major at that point to business administration and accounting. And I took a entrepreneurship internship that changed my life. The person who mentored me during that is still alive today, and we are lifelong friends. He has mentored me my whole career. I would definitely suggest to you looking at an internship like that, for yourself, because it has made all the difference in my career. After that, he gave me the courage, or helped me, encouraged me to start my own small business accounting firm back in the 80s. And I did tax returns for friends and for neighbors, and it expanded. And one of my accounting clients asked me a few years later if I could set up an accounting system for his son's new business. And I said yes. And it was a film and video production company. And that's how I got into the film business, the film and video production company business. I became his partner, and we developed that business over 10 years. It was at the advent of DVD. So we created these incredible making of documentaries for some premier catalog titles. We did the Star Trek series for Paramount. We did the Alien series and The Sound of Music for Fox, and many others over the years, and 3 independent films that you'll never know what they were, but they were fun. They were fun to do. After the company was sold, I took on the job as accounts payable manager at Capitol Records. I happened to have networked through the entertainment industry, and one of their A&R people recommended me. That is another suggestion, is to make sure that you network, especially if you're in the industry, that it is not a business, it is a country club. So just know that you're going to have to network a lot in that industry in particular. But anyway, I led a team of 26 accountants, and it was exciting to wire millions of dollars every quarter to the Beatles in their royalty payments. But it wasn't as exciting as growing a small business, and I missed that. So I took on some work for a biotech company. I was employee number 20. And they now have 300 employees. So we grew the company, and it was an incredible experience watching that business grow, and all the exponential growth and the software changes and things like that we had to do over the years. It was great. But when my daughter graduated from high school, I decided to do some public service, and I have held 3 management positions in nonprofit for the past about 9 years or so, and enjoyed every moment of that. The road bumps in my career were handling the challenges of business growth. And as my suggestion to you, learning how to develop and streamline accounting processes and standard procedures, including choosing the right software, because that will be a very important part of your career, is learning the software. And when you get to a management position, choosing the software that you need that fits the business that you're in. But also learning to manage credit. Business credit is also a very, very key to a success of a small business. So thank you.
All right. I love the variety that we have in this panel, the different experiences that y'all bring, different childhood aspirations and how those came back and how those are still part of your lives in different ways. So thank you both so much for sharing that. I'm going to move on to our next question. If you're okay staying in the same order, we'll start with Jonathan again, but let me know if you want to switch it up. We can do that too. But the next question, which I know some of you answered a little bit in the first one, but if you want to add any more about the details of your current position and how you would describe your current work. So Jonathan, you can go ahead.
Sure. So, yes. So this is a question that you will struggle with your entire life. Who are you? And when we figure out who we are, it's a really an amazing thing. And so I've gone through many titles. I would refer to myself before as the CEO and founder of, which is by, again, I teach this to my entrepreneurs because there's something beautiful about being able to step into that power, even if you are a small business. And by the way, Catherine, we need to connect. By the way, it's called networking, so we need to connect. So because I'm going, okay, who does she know that I know, and how do we merge our energy together? So needless to say, yes. So what was the question again? Because I got sidetracked.
No, you're fine. It's just about your current position, how
That's
you
it.
would describe your current work. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, so now I call myself a business intuitive. And that came to me when I realized that when people come to me, they always ask questions, right? Like I just had a woman that came to me and we have this thing called Todd. It's called a tax opportunity discovery session. And by the way, I'm a natural marketer, which I didn't even know, but this is a thing, right? Like you have to accept that when you go into business for yourself, you are everything. You're the salesperson, you're the marketing person, you're the accountant, you're all of it. And so I created this thing called Todd's Tax Opportunity Discovery Session. And so what happens is the client comes in and they have what triple S, and we call this a sad, sappy story. And this is important that you understand this, because as a salesperson sitting there speaking to them, we don't get trapped and sucked into their sorrow, and it lets us keep up our barriers and our defenses in place. Because as an entrepreneur like me in the beginning, because I'm such a pleaser, because everyone must love me, everyone must like me, as a result I get sucked into the triple S, and then I start doing the discounts. I start doing the I'm not worthy enough, I'm not valuable enough, no one will pay me enough, right? But when we shut that down and we say, no, 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 I'm valuable, I'm worthy, you get people that pay you last week we made like over 70 grand in sales, right? So the point here is that what do I call myself? I don't know. Depends on how I'm showing up in the world. So I'm sometimes, that's why I called myself a business profit tax coach extraordinaire, because business is who I'm talking to, right? So you should know as an audience, oh, guy talks about business. Profit, well, that's about making money, honey, right? And then what kind? Well, tax, right? So now we know the guy does taxes. And then I had to throw in my flair, extraordinaire, hello, right? So it just tells everybody right away what kind of person you are. If I'm on my show, Naked Tax Talk, I'm showing up as the host of Naked Tax Talk. And really I have a whole other persona, you could say, still authentic. It's just I'm shifting based on the audience. If I'm in front of a sales call, I'm a salesman now. If I'm having to do the work, like, Catherine and I have to do work sometimes still, right? So like when we have to do that part, then we're the accountant, right? So it just really depends on what area of the business you're showing up, and when you're showing up and how you're showing up. Your title is going to change to meet the needs of the audience. However, with that being said, it's important that we identify at least a core title for ourselves. And when you are an entrepreneur, you must understand, or not you must, but the point is one must understand that we claim a title so as we kind of claim a space. And this is the other thing too, right? We can look at others and try to compare ourselves to others. But the problem here is that paranoia is what's going to stop us from really stepping into our purpose of life. And so instead we say, well, I'm going to embrace who I am. I'm fabulous. I'm great. I'm beautiful. I'm all that wonderful things. And when we accept that, that's who we go out into the world and claim as ourselves. So like Catherine earlier, right? She was like, wow, Jonathan's a really good speaker. And, I got my notes and stuff, right? And the truth of the matter is Catherine is just as powerful, right? She's just as amazing too. Like I know all of you viewers right now are just the same way. It's just a matter of us stepping into the confidence and saying, yeah, I am badass, right? And I am all of that. And so I encourage you as an entrepreneur, for those of you that are out there, to really step into that and be like, hell yeah, double yeah, I'm a business owner and this is my title, and whatever that title is. And it's important too that we understand that the title is your bragging rights. So if you notice when I opened up, right, I said I'm a business intuitive. So the people in the room in your audience, for example, I actually am a member of an organization called E-Women Network. So Catherine said it best: network, network, network. So I'm part of a women's I'm one of the only like 5 men in the entire national organization. I'm the only man in the group. And the reason is because of what I'm saying, right? I'm a business intuitive. And I know that women in general have more of an intuitive space, right? We connect to that. Sorry, guys, we don't typically connect to that very often, but when you're like me, we do. So the point is that we just kind of own that, we claim it, and we say it. Because you see, business is about attracting the client that you want to do business with. And here's something really important: not everyone is going to be our client. We can't have everyone in our world. There's just not enough of that. So instead, the way you show up is the way people are going to come and be attracted to you. And guarantee you this right now: the other panelists that are joining us here today, right? You're going to listen to them, you're going to connect with them, and then you're going to go, ooh, who do I want to go be with? And you're going to naturally float to all these other people. So Catherine and all the others, right? You're going to just be you, babies, because at the end of the day, the people who want to work with you, they're going to come and knocking on your door, and they're going to say, I want more of you. I want more of you. And the people that don't want more of you, no offense taken, baby, it's just that not all of us necessarily are vibrating on the same vibration, and that's okay. So it's about knowing that not everyone needs to be with us. Not everyone needs to love us and like us. And it's about owning our authentic self and the title that we proclaim. And it doesn't have to be standard. Did I ever say I was an accountant? No, right? That wasn't my opening spiel. So it's about who you are, who do you serve, and ultimately what's the benefit your client is going to receive.
You're here.
Love that emphasis on knowing your audience and being okay that your audience isn't the entire world. So yes,
right.
about you, Catherine, your current position and a little bit about what you do.
My current position actually is finance manager at the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. So it sounds ominous in some ways, especially if you're non-religious, but and I am not Catholic myself, but the opportunity came to me as a result of their parish ministries for charitable, the charitable part of their work. And my regular work consists of just maintaining the accounting systems. We have, a parish with about 5,000 members, and also a grade and high school. And so I just take care of that. I collaborate with the operations manager, in creation of annual budgets. I do accounting work. So producing monthly financial statements and, reporting to the finance council and the Archdiocese. But the most important part, and the reason that I was attracted to this role, was managing those parish ministries and what the assistance they have provided, especially during the pandemic, to over 5,000 families here in Glendale. Just know that we have provided social relief to a lot of really needy families, which was the thing that attracted me the most. We also have a capital building project, and I'm kind of used to cost accounting and things like that. So we're, needing to keep on budget for that as well. So that's the other part of what I do. But I work part-time because obviously I'm at that point in my career to be able to do that. So.
Perfect. And I love that both of you emphasize that your jobs ultimately are helping people. You hear people say, I want to be a doctor because I want to help people. And they don't realize that there's all these different ways to help people, and finance and business and entrepreneurship is part of that. That's part of what people need there to help and support with. So with that being said, we will move on to let's see. Okay, I might combine a couple questions here. No, okay. I'll move on to the next one. I'll combine going forward. So this next one is really your favorite things about your work and also some of the challenges you face within your work. And we can start again with Jonathan.
My favorite things. Let's see here. How's that song go? It's a sound of music, right? Catherine, did you say you did this music track? So some of my
Yes.
favorite things, right? So The favorite things, what I love about being a serial entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and of course, a tax strategist, babies. What I love about it is the reality of being able to take somebody who's legit stuck, right? Who are afraid. You see, this is the thing, right? Fear is what's going to create barriers to entry, right? It's what creates the barrier to success. And as long as we're in the state of fear, we cannot make decisions that takes our lives into the future, that makes our lives better. And so what I do, believe it or not, as I take our clients, they come in here first going, can you prepare my taxes? Now, I forgot to mention to you guys that I actually have staff that work for me, right? I'm the honcho. I'm the man who owns the business right now, 3 of them. And I have a director of operations. By the way, when you start your business and you're by yourself and you're ready to start hiring other people, giving them a badass title always helps. So we have a director of operations and her name is Paige and she handles it all. So in fact, my cousin just hired us because I don't give discounts to family, let's be real. So my cousin hired us and she's bugging me, right? Some technical stuff. And I said, please call Paige at my office. She will take care of that for you, right? So the reality is that the favorite thing is taking entrepreneurs out of the darkness, their fear of being caught, their fear of paying too much, their fear of not knowing, their fear of looking stupid, their fear of looking dumb, their fear of being an imposter because maybe they're a life coach or maybe they're, an author themselves or they're a speaker themselves or whatever. And they talk about money or they talk about things, but their own personal lives are a complete total wreck. And so they come here and it's almost like they're going to be judged or they're going to be, somehow what's the word I'm looking for? Not condemned, but it's almost like when someone looks down on you. I can't remember the word now. It starts with a C. Darn it! But I digress.
Condescending.
Condescending. Thank you. So like they feel like they get a lot of that. And then when they enter my world, which by the way, we call it the Bengal experience. Thank you to my freshmen when I taught high school. The Bengal experience, they would go around to all the other kids and be like, take Mr. Bengal's class, the Bengal experience. So now that's what we call my high-end package in my firm. It's called the Bengal experience. And when our clients do this, they transform their lives again from that unknown into the known. Because when we know what we know, we create this thing called security. And as long as we feel secure, we're going to make the decisions that we're going to make in our lives to fulfill our dreams and the dreams of others. And so we have to have security. So when my clients come into the Bengal experience, they come all jacked up. But when they come out of that, they come out with what I call the PFS effect, personal financial security. And personal financial security, because again, I grew up extremely poor, which meant that I was very insecure. And in fact, it leaks itself into our lives as we grow older. We start, if someone like me back a few years ago, I'd hire a whole bunch of coaches, by the way, to unwind all this crap. But what happens is it imprints itself. And so then you start going like, what? You want $50 for that? What? Right? So, or like, oh, that's too much or whatever the case may be. And we just have this fear like it's going to be taken away or people are taking advantage of or all these other negative things that come up. And so when we have financial security, we're able to say, well, you know what? I'm going to logically and rationally make a decision about my personal and my business life. And so from that, we can be like one of our clients that was hemorrhaging over $90,000 a month in cash flying out the door. And they were wondering why they were almost bankrupt. Well, they were overpaying their employees. And I had to be that guy that unfortunately to come in and say, you got to can them all and restart all over again because no one likes a pay cut. So we had to like start all over. But guess what? They're now positive cash flow, right? They're positive. They're now a 7-figure company. So the idea here is you've got to make these decisions. Well, I can't make decisions unless I get rid of the fear. So if we get rid of the fear, we can start making decisions, building the confidence, and then we ultimately start to fulfill our dreams. The challenge that I face, however, is when you're an entrepreneur, some of us are the know-it-alls. That's me, a know-it-all. So I have to go do the research myself. I got to Google you. I got to Facebook stalk you. I got to do all kinds of things first. And then you're going to have to prove to me that you know what you're doing, right? So I want to see the numbers, the digits, and everything else. By the way, sales tip coming up. Sales tip coming up. You should know that there are people buy a certain way, the psychology of which people buy. And someone like me, who's a know-it-all, wants to see graphs, wants to see numbers, wants to see proof in the pudding, right? I also know that there are some people out there that will buy based on the relationship. They want a partnership. They want someone that's going to be there for them to help them. Well, I do that, right? So part of the challenges that we have is understanding the person that's coming into our world and using generalizations to help them move further to accomplish what they need to, while at the same time understanding the way in which they process information. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges, is having people who come in and they know it all. Those are my favorite ones because I'm a know-it-all, right? So what I always remind myself, and this is as an entrepreneur, you should remind yourself of this. I am simply a mere reflection of myself. When I smile, you smile back. You can't help it, huh, Catherine? You can't help it. You got to smile, right? Right, Brianna? She's smiling. Look at that. Look, Gabriella smiling too, right? Shelby's smiling, right? We're a mere reflection of what we put out. So if I'm like grumpy in a sales call, what do you want? What do you need? What kind of services are you looking for? Right? Then everyone's faces turns into a frown, right? We're putting out what we're getting back. And that's the challenge, is to be in that space. So here's what you're going to do, entrepreneurs. When you decide, and by the way, I know I'm calling you entrepreneurs, you're probably going, but we want to work for somebody. There are some of you in this room right now who are going to be your own boss. That is the truth. And you know that you're going to be your own boss when you realize you can't listen to directions, and when you realize that you can do it better, and when you realize that no one's going to tell you what to do. Don't you tell me what to do. Don't you dare, right? When you're that person, you're an entrepreneur. Let's be real. So you must come to the realization that you are going to always make sure that you are going to stand in that power, and that you're going to overcome these challenges by understanding your own self so that you can help others accomplish the same thing. So that's why, like I say, I grew up in extreme poverty, didn't have money. I went through bankruptcy. I was 34 at the time. I had a client that was really ashamed about this, right? She felt a lot of shame about it. And I said, but that's why the law was created. The law doesn't care about emotions. It cares about facts, and it cares about circumstances. And so the reality is that you can feel and appear as if you suck. But the truth of the matter is that you can get up and move forward. Nothing in this life can destroy your purpose unless you choose that route for yourself. No one has the power to tell you that you're not worthy enough, that you're not valuable enough, that you're nothing. No one has that power over you. No one can say that you are X, Y, and Z. Only you can. And in the same token, only you can say to yourself, I'm gorgeous, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm worthy, I'm valuable. Because at the end of the day, only you, and just you, babies, are going to love you unconditionally. And when we understand this power, we can take our companies into a whole new light. And you, as young people right now, it's so exciting because you're going to get this little bit of nugget, right? Because here's the truth. We're all living in this thing called the fog of ignorance. And it isn't until we become aware, someone like ourselves come into your life, or a teacher, or something happens, and it shines a little bit of light and it brings awareness to you. At this point, I argue and say, this is human choice. Now I have a choice to either go to the right or go to the left. You have a choice. And only in that moment do you have that choice. And so I would argue and say that for those of you that are here and watching this, you are catching some light into what's possible. So the question I pose back out to the world, to you, is what will you do with these new nuggets of information to transform your life? Because I certainly don't let my past define who I am. I can only allow my past to help to guide me into the future, but I also cannot live in the future for too long either. That creates the anxiety and the fear, but I have to still have a vision of where I want to go. And I'm still doing that. I still have a vision of where I want to be. By the way, keep this in mind, whether you're working for somebody or whether you're your own boss, your vision of what you want to become has to be greater than your bedroom. It has to be on a scale like the world has never seen. Because when we do that, babies, what happens is that everything else unfolds to give you your life's purpose so that you can do what you were brought here to do. And it just so happens that when it comes to money, honey, accountants are one of the best people you can account for, that you can trust in to guide you in that same path.
Fantastic.
True.
Thank you. And Catherine, we'll hear from you on challenges and favorite parts of your position.
Okay, I'll be really quick because I love what I do now, mostly, with the charitable part of it. I enjoy facilitating the volunteers. I manage the volunteers at the church. And, the fundraising campaigns we do for school scholarships. And I mean, it's very smaller, obviously a lot smaller than what Jonathan does, but it does help people right here in this local community. And that's what really I wanted to do with the rest of my career, is to help those around me, not people way off and somewhere else, but to people right here that are hurting. So I obviously using my skills that I've garnered over an entire career in those efforts with the project, the building project, as well as the charitable part of it. So I'm really enjoying that. Some of the challenges I face, we had some issues with the pandemic, with the schools obviously shutting down, trying to make sure that the financial viability of those schools remain, and also to make sure that we keep in budget on the project. Budgeting is a very, very big part of your jobs if you decide to become an accountant. So just know that that's incredibly, like Jonathan said, very, very important. So thank you.
All right, fantastic. So we're doing great on timing. We're just about to go into our breakout rooms, but I want to give the students some reminders first. So I'm putting something in the chat. So you're going to be able to meet in a smaller group in more of a informal session, and you'll have a counselor to support you as well in each breakout room. And you get to ask your own questions. I already saw one in the chat. So I'll make sure that you're in a group to be able to ask that. But I just want to encourage you not to be shy, and it's okay to ask questions. And this is really a great opportunity to speak directly with some professionals who have some real diverse experience. You can ask them about how they got there, anything we haven't gotten to. I'll also post the questions we didn't get to, so you can copy our pre-established questions if you'd like. I'm actually going to stop the recording here. So thank you for those of you watching this later on our YouTube.